Welcome into the CHGO Bears Podcast, Day 3, Radio Row, presented by Factor Meal Kits. Head to factormeals.com/CHGO Bears 50 and use code CHGO Bears 50 to get how much off? 50% off.
Big.
Go.
Big. We love you,
Some
Factor.
of us are probably feeling 50% off today.
Not me.
Namely Nick. I'm great, though. I'm great. Thank you for looking out for me.
Actually, your computer's blocking it, so you're fine.
Yeah, I should probably still. There's rules about showing your credentials.
I hate rules.
I'm tangled, though. I don't know how I'm actually going to get this off.
I cannot stand rules. Tommy Two Hands.
Yeah, we got new nicknames today. Tommy Two Hands over here. Greg Braggs Jr.
Okay.
Adam Hogue, my nickname is still just Hogue, boring and as usual.
No, you have a new nickname. Your new nickname is 8 minutes late this morning, Adam Hogue. 8 minutes late, Hogue.
Then we got Mr. Mark.
It's called Mr. Professional, always on time, never late, always there for you, Carm.
You were late this morning.
Let me teach you a lesson. Let me teach you a lesson.
Yeah.
The person who has the car keys is never late.
Yeah.
We leave when I leave.
That's true.
8 minutes
very
late,
true.
Hogue.
You were 8 minutes early. I was not late.
And you were late, too, so I don't
I
even want to
wasn't
hear
late.
it.
No show, Nick.
No shot.
Yeah, no show is right.
Yeah, we had fun last night. Last night was the big the media extravaganza. It's beyond the media, though. It's become this huge thing. It's basically the host committee party. We had a good time. We taught Greg Braggs how to play craps, which is why he's now Tommy Two Hands.
Tommy Two Hands.
Because he does not know
All
how
these rules,
does
man.
not know how to properly roll the dice without basically getting kicked out of a casino.
I mean, how ridiculous. What a stupid rule. You got it one hand. What is going to change the dice if I put it from one hand to the other and then throw it?
They're making sure you're not like Matt Eberflus with tricks up your sleeves. You
Do
have
I
to
look
keep
like
the
Chris
dice
Angel?
over the
Jesus
table.
Christ.
Yes.
You can't. If anybody's played craps, I wish I had some dice in front of me right now. But imagine picking up the dice in one hand, bringing it all the way out of the table, and then switching hands, and then rolling it. You get kicked out of casinos for that, man.
Well, they didn't kick me out, and I was the only, because you said that the table was dead, and I was the only one that actually had, good rolls. I was on a heater both times I rolled, so.
You're an incredible person.
That wasn't a heater, Lawrence? That wasn't a heater? Because everybody seemed to be really excited.
Let me tell you something. That qualified as a heater at that table. That was the worst craps table of all time.
So everybody was rooting me on, so Tommy Two Hands.
Good job, Greg.
Okay.
I
don't know.
Thank you,
anyway,
Nick.
Carm went to bed.
Right.
In fact, okay, so some goals today besides not losing money at the craps table. We are asking for your help. We have a goal. We want to get to 48,000 YouTube subscribers today. Let's get this done. I think we're like 47.4. We can get to 48 today. That's the goal today. So
absolutely.
We appreciate everybody that watches and supports the show, listens to it. Please, if you're a podcast listener, if you don't watch us on YouTube, please just do us a favor. Go to our YouTube channel, CHGO Sports, and please hit subscribe. It just helps us grow as a company. Let me tell you, we are rolling deep here in Vegas as an all-city network.
Yeah, we are.
We're honest to God, we are up there with like some of the big networks that are here. We got, I think, 27 people across all of our networks, 7 shows every single day live. So we really appreciate your support. But here at CHGO, we want to get to 48,000 today. So send the link off to a friend. Some Bears fans please hit that subscribe button. We really do appreciate it. We also love how many people are signing up to become new CHGO diehards. And as we do every day, we're going to let Carm harass you as he welcomes you to the family.
Harass is love, and that's what we're doing. There's no harassment. This is just straight love. And we start out with our guy, Ben, big in the post, jump hook over the left shoulder.
Always goes back to sports.
Jump hook over the right shoulder. Ben, and can hit the J too. Ben, you're my guy. Steven, my leadoff hitter today. Steven, maybe even actually, we'll put you in the 2-hole, Steven, because you are listed on my sheet as the 2-hole. You're a guy that can go to right. You can go to left. You might hit a line drive right up the middle, move the runner beautifully. Steven, welcome to being a diehard. I like you in the slot too, if we're talking football. And then there's Greg with 2 G's. So Look.
That's actually Greg with 3 G's, but, you know.
Right. 1 at the start, 2 at the end. That's an excellent point. Greg with 2 G's is this
3 G's.
Right. Thank you. Stop ruining my role. Greg, you're the man. Thank you for being in here. I see you as our closer. I'm thinking back to a Kevin Gregg who had 2 G's on the back end of his name. Cubs days. Wasn't a good closer, but you are, Greg. Thank you. Jimmy, my main man, Jimmy Johns, Jimmy Sandwich, Jimmy G, Jimmy Player. Jimmy, when you walk into a room, you want Jimmy with you. And then my guy Jacob, another J. Jacob, probably had one of the great bar mitzvahs of all time, Jacob. And if he didn't, then he's still was honorary member of the tribe. Jacob is a guy that I think can. I actually like him in the slot, both and at the point. If Jacob played hockey, dude probably had a wicked slap shot. And then Jeremy, who signed up last night on Twitter because of I asked her if the Bears were going to draft Caleb Williams, and she said yes. So and that's why our guy Jeremy signed up. Jeremy, you've got great taste. Excellent job.
The vibes were great last night. It was a lot of fun at the media night party, and it's transferred over here today at Radio Row. Like, this is high octane today. Like, you can feel the vibe, the energy as soon as we walked in. Seth Rollins, talked to Seth Rollins, Bert Kreischer. You got celebrities, all
else
like.
Who else is going to name drop?
No, I'm just telling you. Like, paint a picture.
Let me tell you something. This guy,
I'm painting a picture.
This guy's probably the MVP so far this week, I do have to say.
Yep. He's been big.
He's been big. We love you. It all goes for naught, though, if you do not get my guy Bert Kreischer on the show by Friday.
I am going to move
that is
heaven
the goal.
and earth to get Bert Kreischer here on the show. This is definitely going to be one of those shows where I'm walking off a few times.
Please do.
I'm going to, yeah, because there's a lot of moving parts going on. Just saw Baker Mayfield a minute ago.
You also have to repair my. You also have to repair my Uber rating from our ride back from the party last night. So, dude, you got to work on that too.
Someone forget that. You guys talking about my cigar smell.
No, it was.
And you
potent.
Also smoked a cigar. So
I know.
I don't know what you're talking about here.
Yeah, it stuck to you a little bit more, I think. All right, let's get into this show. We got a lot.
One more thing, just remember, we do have our event tonight at Circa from 6 till 8. Please come on out to Circa.
On the ball.
You are invited. Diehards, you get preferential treatment, but literally maybe just come and become a diehard. Anybody is invited. If you're here, come to Circa tonight between 6 and 8. It's going to be sweet. 2 free drinks if you sign on up. So come on out.
And you will also get the pleasure to watch Mark Carman watch a Northwestern basketball game, and that in and of itself would be worth the trip. It's going to be hilarious. Northwestern versus Nebraska tonight. Carm is going to be freaking out for this entire party.
2 extra drinks from Nick. Yep. And coming up in a second as Ho gets us into the show, we're going to play you one of the more awkward interviews we did with both Jaxon Smith-Njigba and Chris Olave. We need your help to just to figure out what happened.
Just real quick, if you're looking for the link to RSVP for the event tonight, I just retweeted it, so you can find that there at Adam Hogue on Twitter. We should probably get that on the CHGO Bears account at some point too. But all right, huge show today. Jaxon Smith-Njigba, Chris Olave, 2 wide receivers who have played with Justin Fields, know him well. JSN also with Shane Waldron this past season. You got to hear his reaction to just basically us mentioning Shane's name.
It's a moment.
We're not going to lie. This is not the greatest interview that's ever been done in the history of interviews, but it was fun. And there was a very noticeable thing that happened in this interview.
Wings.
Yes.
I don't know if it was fun. It was painful, but it was informative.
We also have Field Yates, Tom Pelissero, Brian Billick. Am I missing anybody else?
We got a lot.
We got a lot coming on the show, but let's start right now with our sit down with Jaxon Smith-Njigba and Chris Olave. All right, this legitimately might be the best promotional situation that's been going on
I'm
Radio
going
Row
right in right now. Right now.
Week.
That's right. Yeah, right now, Lawrence.
We have Chris Olave and Jaxon Smith-Njigba with us. Bounty's been out here all week. This is brilliant. First of all, if you give media food, they're already happy. But you can't eat wings without needing...
Without bounty.
Without bounty.
Bounty.
So this
Impossible.
it is brilliant marketing.
It is. You can't have football without wings. Can't have wings without bounty.
And you guys got some sweet jackets to go along with it.
Green looks great. Green my favorite color.
So in all seriousness, so we're in Chicago. And Bears fans love you guys, even though you're not on the Bears. Trust me, we've spent the last 2 drafts talking a lot about you two. The idea and the dream of you guys playing with Justin Fields. And you guys ended up in great spots. Things are going well for you, and we're all happy about that. But just know Bears fans do love you guys and wish you were playing with Justin.
Yeah, it's a dream, man. I know Justin's a one of a kind talent, and I'm excited for him in the future.
Yeah, it's always good to hear that, especially going to Cincinnati. The Ohio State fans showed me a lot of love, and Chicago, yeah, I feel like they were real eager to try to get us. So, having love, wherever you go on visiting teams is always cool for me.
Can you explain why he's so beloved by people that play with him? Because everybody that talks about Justin Fields seems to love Justin Fields.
Man, he's one of the best talents I've seen. I worked with him at Ohio State for a couple years, and just his work ethic. You know what I'm saying? He puts his head down. He works as hard as anyone, and he's so humble with it. And he's the way he carries himself off the field and on the field, second to none. So,
just a great guy. I mean, I remember coming in on my recruiting trip, and he's treating me, just like, you would want to be treated. And, that's how he lives his life, and he does all the right things off the field. So, I'm a big fan of him. As
friends of his teammates, ex-teammates of his, how do you guys look at this situation he's in? Because it's honestly a little unfair to him. That not too many he's been good. He is a starting quarterback in the NFL. There's no question about it. But yet the Bears are just in this weird spot where they happen to have the number 1 overall pick, and he's sort of just caught in the middle of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough. Yeah, I hate it for him. Definitely, I always stick up for him because, to me, it's not his fault. Let's get some help in there. Maybe I'll be the GM, in a little bit. But let's get some guys in there and sling it around. I mean, it's that simple.
Chris, I'm going to put you in a slightly uncomfortable position right now because we were, at the end of the season, we were having an argument on the show. We were comparing the Bears quarterback situation to every other playoff team that was in there in the NFC. And then we got to you guys, and I said, I'm going to take Derek Carr over Justin because of what he's done in his career. And this dude walked off the set on me straight, thought it was so ridiculous. And I'm like, hey, man, I'm not yelling at Justin.
And by the way, I'm a Derek Carr fan. I really am.
You weren't at that moment.
Not that day, but I have been. But, no, I did walk off the set. I admit it.
Yeah, so
I'm Team Justin
on
that one.
I don't want to put you in too awkward spot, but, I mean, Derek's real now. I mean, that's a good QB you got to play with this year.
Oh, yeah, he's a veteran, man. I mean, he's 10 years in the league. He's been playing real good ball with the Raiders first year with the Saints offense. So we just got to build, man. It's about chemistry.
I'll take it. It's good.
I did give him. I gave him credit at the end. The take did age well because Derek did. You guys, I felt like offensively, you guys did everything you could have to the end to get in. It just didn't really work out.
Right.
Yeah. No, he's solid. I get it.
It's okay. We're going to just split that one down the middle.
Okay.
Well, Bears fans are super interested about the offensive coordinator coming in, Shane Waldron. What can you tell them about who they just hired to try to get this offense where it needs to go?
This is live?
Yeah. We're not live.
I'm playing. Good luck to y'all. I mean, he's a great person, great offensive coordinator. I was very lucky to have him my first year. Learned a lot from him. I think him and Justin will mesh well, and adding more guys around him, I think it would be great. So we'll see.
Do you have any advice that you give to Justin in that situation, considering that the coach that's coming in?
Oh yeah, I mean he's gonna love Justin. So really just Justin, be yourself and go make plays for real. That's it.
Fair enough. That's another tough spot for you too. There was there and gone. You guys are. This is the world you live in. You had a very tough decision to make. I mean, you're playing 3 games your last year. Am I going to put myself in the draft? Where am I going to go? How did you get yourself to the point like, you know what, it's my time, even though my last year at Ohio State didn't go necessarily the way you wanted it to go?
Yeah, I mean, I just had to pray on it a lot, and just given the cards I was dealt, especially, I had a good feeling that CJ was going to leave and that they were going to kind of have a new team. And, I don't like to play with money. If I see something that's kind of guaranteed, I ain't going to play with it. I'm going to go get it.
Let's go then. Soak it up like bounty right there.
All right. One more for you guys. Give us the scouting report on Marvin Harrison Jr.
Well-rounded.
well-rounded. Anything he can do, anything you ask. I mean, best route runner I've seen. Great hands, phenomenal work ethic.
6'4".
6'4".
Yep.
Jump out the gym. 4'3". I mean, what else is there to say?
Hey, look, 2 years ago, the Bears fans wanted you. Last year, they wanted you. Now it's Marvin Harrison Jr. At some point, the Bears got to deliver one of these Ohio State wide receivers.
Who wins the race? You, Marvin, Justin, the four of you going.
I would say Chris.
Look at that smile down there.
Olave's
I ain't turning that down.
Chris, get up out of there, for real.
I'd pay to watch that. Look, he's a Hawkeye. I'm a Badger. We both have ties to Northwestern, too. You Buckeyes are just, I don't know what to say anymore. Annoying in some way, but we have all the respect in the world because it's a heck of a program.
Cats almost got y'all in 2020 for a second there now.
What
Come
Cats?
on, Chris. You know that they were in there.
At halftime, yes, it was. I was at that game. Yeah.
It's a 4-quarter game.
Oh.
It's
We
fair.
were down some players. Oh, you talking about the
Big Ten championship
Oh, yeah, I
game.
wasn't there. I
Yeah.
wasn't
Yeah,
there.
it was
Yeah.
nice. Yeah.
No,
Who
guys.
got sick? Justin was sick that game? Nah.
Justin
Nah,
played.
He didn't have his best game.
Oh, Garrett didn't play. Oh, we were in the hotel together. Yeah. That
We had COVID.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
You guys had the
COVID.
COVID.
We
out.
didn't
You
play.
you didn't play. That's right.
Nah,
I
I
totally
didn't
forgot
play
about
that
that. Like the kicker, the punter was sick too.
Yeah.
I remember pregame because I was doing sidelines for Northwestern, and we were all like trying to figure out who's even playing in this game. I forgot about that.
I forgot about that too. Garrett of you guys, Garrett was the only one who, I mean, you didn't play, so he had caught 4 balls. I was
Right.
trying to, yeah.
And another Big Ten championship. Guys, thanks so much for being here. Appreciate the wings. Bounty's getting it done this week on Radio Row.
And you can
Go ahead and get one.
Okay.
There we go.
There you go,
There
Braggs.
go.
I'll get one with you.
just when you guys hit free agency, think about Chicago. It's a beautiful city. We got great wings. We got all the paper
I got you.
towels, and you get to play in front of some amazing fans. Chicago, you'd like it someday.
It's going to be in the thoughts.
There we go.
There we go.
We'll think about it.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate you guys.
For sure.
Are we live?
Are we?
Are we live?
No, well, kind of.
Is this live?
Sort of. Actually, now, yes, we are.
Now
live.
this is live. Okay.
Now it is live.
That was.
We apologize. I apologize.
I don't even know. I don't even know what we should.
What
Let's
was
just
wrong
be-
with him, Shane? Sorry, that was the question that we should ask for you all, for us.
Yeah. Look. Never had a reaction like that ever. In all the years we've been doing this, like that. I'm not gonna lie. That threw me off, and not 100% happy about how I handled it. I feel like there was definitely probably the better follow-up question that could have been answered there. But that was certainly not the reaction to mentioning Shane Waldron that I thought we were going to get. So I don't know what to make of it. I do think the context is important. He was a rookie. He was only with them for 1 year.
Well, some of the research that I did behind the scenes afterwards on it, he is not, from what I understand, like when we're going to talk to Tom Pelissero, he's going to speak very well as Shane Waldron a little bit later in the show. But I've also heard from different people that he is not exactly Mr. Front of the Room guy. He is not a head coach galvanizing dude. He's a little bit awkward. That doesn't mean that he doesn't know what he's doing. But as far as connecting with guys, you could clearly see that he didn't have the best connection with Jaxon Smith-Njigba.
And that's just one player.
Right.
That's just one player. But unfortunately, it's the only player we've had access to so far that's played for him. Maybe there will be more as this week goes along. But that was
I appreciated the honesty.
Yeah,
I mean, even like people in the comments like, "Oh, we're cooked," and like,
maybe we are.
I wouldn't
Maybe they
worry
are,
about it
but-
too much.
Yeah,
but
Jaxon Smith-Njigba, 63 receptions, 628 yards, 4 touchdowns. He has DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett on the roster too. So it's not like he wasn't a part of the offense. But when I saw that initially, like, oh, maybe the Bears are cooked. But we'll have to wait and see on that, you guys.
at least those wings were cooked. Good wings.
Good.
Bounty came through.
Well, and in life, especially in coaching, if I may wax poetic for you for a second, it's more important to be respected than to be liked in that position. And I'm not saying that Jaxon Smith-Njigba had a ton of respect for him with that, is this live reaction, but maybe he'd look back on his time with Shane Waldron someday in perhaps a different way than he's looking at it right now.
I've watched that probably like 20 times since we recorded that yesterday, which was also why I was thrown off by like just the question of are we live? Because technically we weren't live, but also, we all have microphones on, and then we were all. He ended up saying he was kidding with that too. So we're good with it, but it was definitely. And then we had to bring up the Big Ten championship game where we all forgot that they both half the roster had COVID, and I completely forgot that too, even though I covered that game.
Gentlemen, I'm jumping in while Braggs is gone.
Okay.
I'm officially starstruck for the first time this week.
Who do
we got?
I'm guessing
it's not an athlete.
I'm guessing none of you know who it is.
Yeah, it's not an athlete.
Then we definitely should bring it up.
Lil Dicky. Do you know who Lil Dicky is? The show Dave on FX.
No.
He's a rapper.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
You're starstruck by Lil Dicky.
That show is amazing. Shout out to Dave.
Okay.
It's a great show.
It's an awesome
show.
Okay.
He's like 2 tables over.
He's right there.
Yeah,
he's wearing
wild.
pink.
He looks good.
Go get your camera out and talk to Lil Dicky with Lawrence.
He's the best.
Hogan and I will just sit here and
think about our awkward interview with Jaxon Smith-Njigba and Chris Olave.
We'll try to do better with Field Yates coming up in a couple of minutes.
Well,
but first,
Field's our guy. We're gonna be fine. Hey, it's a big week. There's a big game this week. I think you know that. And if you're thinking about going, you got to check out Game Time. And really, you should be using Game Time for anything that you're thinking about going to. I checked Game Time yesterday. I briefly thought about going to the hockey game last night.
Ooh.
The Golden Knights played the Oilers last night. It's a big one, but we had prior plans that we had to attend to as well. So we didn't do that. But I did check Game Time. I was like, can we get in here? So, you know what? Another thing to look at this, like with this game, what would you do with an extra $100? Like, I know it would help me after that craps table last night to have that extra $100.
I'd probably use it.
But if you're in Vegas, you're thinking about going to the game, you can have an extra $100 in your pocket by using Game Time, because Game Time is a fast and easy way to buy tickets for all sports, music, comedy, theater events near you. And right now, all users get $100 off when they buy a big game ticket with code Vegas100. Killer last minute deals, all in prices, views from your seat. They hook it up. They got flash. I love the flash deals. You swipe the little flash deal thing, and the best option for you pops up right there, right away. You check the view from your seat. You know what you're going to have. And Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase as well. Again, take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Right now, all Game Time users get $100 off a big game ticket with code Vegas100. Terms apply. Just download the Game Time app. Use code Vegas100 for $100 off a big game ticket. Or if you're not going to the game, use code CHGO. That's always available to you for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
Factor is the way to go when you're looking for the best way to eat both deliciously and efficiently. Factor's delicious, ready-to-eat meals make eating every day easy. Whatever tomorrow takes you, be ready with pre-prepared, chef-crafted, and dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. You'll have over 35 different options a week to choose from, including keto and calorie smart, vegan and veggie, and more. And there's even more to enjoy with over 55 nutrition-packed add-ons that help make your weekly meal planning even more delicious. What are you waiting for? Get started today and have a feel-good week of meals ready to go. 2-minute meals, snacks, smoothies, and more. Sign up and save. We've done the math. Factor is less expensive than takeout, and every meal is dietitian approved to be nutritious and delicious. Factor, the perfect solution if you're looking for fast, upscale, and delicious options that are done easily. Call to action is this. Go to factormeals.com. Put in the code CHGO Bears 50. Use that code CHGO Bears 50, and you get 50% off. That is CHGO Bears 50 at factormeals.com. CHGO Bears 50. Get 50% off. Factormeals.com.
All right, hoping to talk to Field Yates from ESPN. Here in a minute. I think Braggs is hunting him down. That'll be a live interview. We're also going to have Tom Pelissero. And I think specifically as we're talking about Shane Waldron and this hire, I'll just summarize what I've heard now, including that conversation yesterday we had. I think you did a good job there, Carm, talking about, like, there's almost some fluciness to this hire, too, where, like, I don't know that everybody looks at Matt Eberflus like he's the, he's going to rah-rah, Dan Campbell you up and get you ready for the game. But schematically, he's going to do a hell of a job. He's going to probably, at least to start the game, put you in the right position. I mean, Matt Eberflus has been doing a lot of things well, despite the fact that I'm not sure how many, especially fans at this point, look at him like some big galvanizing force that's getting them ready to go on Sunday. it seems like the early feedback, and again, we haven't talked to Shane Waldron. No. I've never talked to Shane Waldron. He has not been introduced to the media yet. But it seems like Shane Waldron's kind of more of that type of coach. But the more and more people you talk about around the league, like, he's going to scheme things up. It's going to be good, and we're going to talk to Tom Pelissero, who does know Shane Waldron. Apparently, he's known him for a while, so he's got some really good insight on that. And so you'll get a different perspective. So definitely a awkward exchange there with Jaxon Smith-Njigba. I think it's pretty clear how he feels about him. I think that's fair to say. But it is just one player, and it's just, one thing to, I guess, put in the scorebook.
Yeah, and
to consider.
I talked to Kerry Joseph, who does know Shane Waldron, and how he can, again, construct an offense. And he said it's all about Shane's mentality, putting the quarterback in a confident position. Look, we haven't talked to him like you said, Adam, but I feel like when we do get that introductory press conference, he's going to come off as a football guy, right? Like an Eberflus type, like you were talking about. Not have the big personality, but the X and O's, get on the whiteboard, drop the play. This is what you got to do. This is where you got to be. Details. Like, that's what I think we're going to come across when we actually get to talk to him in person. But, yeah, that was very interesting what Jaxon Smith-Njigba had to say.
I fingers crossed this works out for the Bears. But you could put me in the slightly concerned history of Matt Eberflus hires corner after that moment with Jaxon Smith-Njigba. I'm not completely willing to give the Bears the 100% benefit of the doubt that they made a great hire. I hope they did. And he is well respected around the league. And the Bears got a lot of props for moving quickly and getting it done with Shane Waldron. So I'm not by any means out on Shane Waldron just from one Jaxon Smith-Njigba reaction. But
another way to look at it is I think that's the first negative thing we've heard about him.
I was about to say that too. Like, everything else has been pretty positive with Shane Waldron. That's the one outlier.
Now, it's also a pretty strong source. It's a player who played for him. But
I had heard the front of the room thing before too.
Okay.
So that wasn't the first time, and so.
But I mean, a lot of coaches are like that.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Maybe that means he'll just be here forever and just run the greatest offense in the history of man. And we'll be winning Super Bowls with Justin Fields or Caleb Williams or Drake May. That was an interesting conversation that we had yesterday with Nate Tice, who we clipped that down for you if you missed it yesterday. It's available on our social channels. But basically saying that he indeed would draft Drake May. He'd trade back, draft May, and trade both Justin and pass on Caleb. That was an interesting conversation.
Hey man, if Drake May ends up being QB1 4 years from now, whether it's for the Bears or a different team, and he didn't end up being correct about that, let's remember Nate Tyson, give him his props, because he's somewhat on an island right now on that one. But he talks about it from a very well-educated, doing the homework, watching the actual tape, believing in it. This is not some guy that's just trying to make a hot take here and get something out of it. He truly does believe it, and I think. And by the way, Drake May's really good. Like, I like Drake May too. You can talk. I mean, I know people. Look, you know how I feel about Caleb Williams at this point. We get it. But what Nate Tice was talking about Drake May you could talk me into the idea of moving back one spot, getting a haul from Washington, still drafting him instead.
You're not talking me into that, and I did, but I was interested. I don't think you could actually talk me into it, but I did say to him yesterday, if the Bears do that, and he doesn't work out, I will hold you personally responsible.
Yeah,
you will be.
You are the worst multitasker of all time.
You will be.
Your brain shut off as I tried to show you that.
That was a very, very important text that was worth the shutting off situation. I'll work on that.
Stop.
I would just be very upset with Nate Tice if that ever happened. I'm holding him personally responsible.
Yeah.
I said it to his face.
You told him that. Yeah, you told him that. I think that's harsh, but you know
it's not fair at all. But he came on here, and if Poles is watching our show like he does every day, and we know that he does, then and that flipped him. Then that's then it is on Nate Tice.
But to be fair to Nate Tice too, like, okay, if Caleb Williams wasn't in this draft, like, we would all be talking about Drake May, maybe the way that people are talking about Caleb Williams right now. He is a legitimate guy that.
And I think that's Nate's point.
Yeah,
This
so
guy's QB1 in most drafts.
Don't overlook him just because Caleb's here. So.
Yeah.
That's needs to be mentioned.
Also, one thing I wanted to bring up, because I saw this going around on social media, I love Bears fans. I really do. I genuinely mean that. But, like, did you see this video that's been going around of me sitting basically just like this, looking at Robbie Gould yesterday while Robbie Gould was talking about Marvin Harrison Jr.?
No.
I mean, I was literally just sitting here looking at him listening. And it's been turned into, like, this big thing on social media where, like, look at how pissed Hogue is. Hearing Robbie talk.
You had resting Hogue face.
Resting Hogue face. Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know that was a thing, but I'll own it. I'll own it.
It's officially a thing. You have that look where when you're not completely certain what someone's saying or you're thinking about.
Well, that was a pretty hot take. They should take Marvin Harrison, number one.
It was a hot take.
A hot take.
Fairly hot take.
Was I not supposed to have a reaction?
Well,
I didn't have a big reaction, though. I was just kind of looking at it.
You just stared him down, dog. You could have been like, Robbie, are you out of your complete mind?
My point is, I love Bears fans.
Okay.
I love that we've gotten to the point that we are now analyzing my face as people are talking about this stuff. This has risen to that level, and I'm not even being facetious. I genuinely, like, this is why I love doing this, because of how passionate Bears fans are, that we have gotten to that point. You keep doing that. I'm serious. Like, we're going to keep it fun here. We are not this has gotten way too serious at times and crossed some lines, and I hope we can stay away from that. I'm talking about, things on social media mainly when it comes to that. But, let's continue to have fun with it, because that's our whole mantra here at CHGO, and really been my mantra since I started covering this team 13 years ago.
Resting Hogue Robbie Goldface, we'll call it from now on.
Look, I like Robbie. I've known Robbie for a long time, and when he talks, I listen. It's not unlike when you talk, and I'm like thinking about
how do I get out of this? I know.
Yeah,
it's experience every day. I get it.
All right, let's talk about DraftKings. How about that? If you're looking for a super offer on Super Bowl 58, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered. New customers can bet on the big game and turn $5 to $200 instantly in bonus bets. Lots of interesting lines out there. I've been following the game line all week. I don't want to give away my prediction on Wednesday, but how can you not like the Chiefs as an underdog right now? I just feel like that's just where I'm leaning.
That's where the public's leaning.
Well, that always makes me nervous, especially in this town that we're in. But download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use code CHGO. New customers can bet $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 58 with code CHGO. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In West Virginia, visit www.1800gambler.net. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY, that's 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/football for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources.
Right now, the San Francisco 49ers, if you haven't checked, they're a 1.5-point favorite at this moment on February the 7th, with the game coming up on Sunday. If you are trying to come to the game and you're in town here, True Fan Travel is going to be throwing their own tailgate party on Sunday in Vegas as we welcome Field Yates to the show in just a second. If you're a CHGO listener in Vegas for the week and are looking for an awesome experience to watch the game, True Fan Travel will be hosting a tailgate and watch party at Daylight Beach Club at Mandalay Bay, within walking distance to Allegiant Stadium. Best place before, during the big game on Sunday. 5-hour premium open bar, all-inclusive package.
Everything good?
Fan favorite food options, private restrooms, outdoor heaters, DJ entertainment from 2 until 3:30. Phenomenal location, short walk to the stadium. Surprise guests are going to be there as well, so you'll be seeing the big shooters. Reserve your spot now to the all-inclusive VIP tailgate and watch party. Or, by the way, they have an option for some private cabanas available, too.
Ooh.
Private cabana.
We'll get one of those for Braggs.
You got to be 21 and over. Head to truefan.travel/trip/Super Bowl 2024 to learn more. truefan.travel/trip/Super Bowl 2024 to learn more.
All right, keeping the show rolling with one of my favorite guys to talk football with in the offseason when we run into each other at events, Field Yates from ESPN. Great job at the Senior Bowl last week.
Thank you, sir. I slipped at $25 to say that, just so people are aware. I think you have to disclose that these days.
We won't confirm if that's true or not, but I might need $25 after that craps table last night.
You're just making sure the local economy here in Vegas stays strong,
You
right?
know,
Why not?
I made a donation. We'll just say that. You got to do
the
that.
taxpayers, that's all.
Super Bowl week here.
Yeah.
So Field was down in Mobile last week. Some great coverage. Nick was there as well.
Yep. Nick was on the draft beat for the past 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shrine and Senior, right?
Yeah, I was everywhere. Now we're here. It's a great time.
We got the draft figured out.
Yep.
What's your temperature right now with what the Bears should do?
You're talking about it number one, right?
Yeah, they do want the number one pick.
Yeah.
Unless they traded
Have
it
you
in the
guys
last
talked
20
about that
minutes.
much over the past?
It is interesting down here though, just being on Radio Row and look, there's two teams playing in the Super Bowl, but the Bears seem to be like the next team of conversation.
All right, so do we want the so I tell people all the time that I've got we have a little bit of time to talk this out answer, and I've got my 25-second TV answer. Which one do you want?
Let's go with the talk it out.
Okay,
let's talk it out.
I want to go
All
deep with Field. Let's
do
go
it.
deep down the field. Let's go.
Deep down the field. So the Bears have sort of like a 3 or 4 pronged plan ahead. Right now, you got to start with this evaluation. You got to decide internally. You have to make an evaluation about what kind of player Justin Fields is. They've said things publicly, and certainly we've seen Justin on the field for a good chunk of 3 seasons. But the Bears are the only ones that know exactly how the Bears feel about Justin. Take that evaluation. If you believe that Justin is the kind of player that has a chance to become a full-time starter for a long time with you guys, the next part of the conversation is, all right, let's have a conversation with his representation. He's now extension eligible. That's one of the next dominoes that's going to fall for Justin, whether it's here in Chicago or somewhere else. And if you start to sort of throw numbers around and the representation and you are on the same page and you feel like Justin has a chance to be a long-time starter, that kind of makes the idea of keeping Justin that much more palatable. If you think he's a long-time starter, but you feel like the two sides are on, sort of different pages in terms of money-wise, that's going to influence the decision as well. Because if you feel like there's this gap that you can't bridge, that might make you feel a little bit more like you have to go down the quarterback route in the draft. Simultaneously to all this, you have to be doing your own evaluations of not just Caleb Williams, but the other quarterbacks in this class, and you have to decide, is one of these guys clearly the best? Most people believe it's Caleb Williams. I will be part of that group. But also, Jaden Daniels, there's not anything he could have done this year to improve his draft stock more than what he did during his Heisman Trophy winning season at LSU. And then Drake May was built at quarterback factory, 6'4", 230 pounds, born to play quarterback. So you got to have that evaluation as well. And then you have to take to the next step. All right, if you're going to take one of those, if you don't want to take one of those quarterbacks, what do the offers look like to move down? Are you going to get 3 first-round picks to move from 1 to 7 or 1 to 8? Because if you can get 3 first-round picks to go from 1 to 8, and you get to keep Justin Fields, and you feel like you've got a financial plan in place there, then you might have a chance to not just keep Justin Fields, but build around him in a pretty special way. You might have 2 first-round wide receivers joining him this upcoming year. Long, rambling answer, of course. I think it's a lot more nuanced, though, than trade Justin Fields or, hey, keep Justin Fields and take Marvin Harrison Jr. and just, be done with it. There's a lot that goes on over these next 2.5 months for Ryan Poles.
That's all great, Field. But in Chicago, you have to be on one team or the other. There is no nuance.
So if I had to plant my flag would be planted on do your best to get as much return you can for Justin Fields and take a quarterback number 1 overall.
So can we go in that direction with Field? Because I feel like you'll have a really good perspective on maybe – because one of the things I've been struggling with is just where should Justin Fields land if that's the road they go down. So I don't know if we want to talk through some situations.
Let's do it.
I'm like New England at 3. No.
I can't imagine they would be influenced to do it.
Instead of taking a –
if they view Justin as decidedly better than whoever they think the 3rd quarterback prospect is, actually the 2nd quarterback prospect, because let's just say, I'm just making this up, but let's say New England's board stacks up, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, all right? But if they feel like the only one out of those 3 that is a no doubt about it player is Caleb Williams, maybe, but I don't think Justin has done enough in 3 years to definitively say, based off what I've seen from those 3 guys, that that door you could go through with with Jaden or Caleb or Drake is a lesser path than what you have with Justin Fields. So I think we're talking more about the teams that are not in the top 3, but also don't know if you can justify taking a quarterback at pick 8 if you're Atlanta, pick 12 if you're Denver, pick 13 if you're the Raiders. The Raiders obviously an interesting one because of Luke Getsy connection. It either means that the Raiders are going to be extremely interested in the trade or completely turned off by a trade, right? I don't think Luke Getsy would go to Tom Pelissero, their new GM, and be like, it'd be okay. He'd either be like, absolutely, let's do it, or he'd say, no way. I think the problem last year was not me; it was actually Justin, right? I'm not trying to put words in Luke's mouth. I'm just saying, like, his stance on Justin's probably pretty strong one way or the other.
So let's go down that road just for a second.
Yep.
Because everyone likes to have the argument, like the Belichick-Brady, who was more important from your
one of the dumber arguments, right? That we waste time on.
Well, but I think it's interesting when you go down to maybe I'm just a dumb person, which is completely on the table. But like I look at it like it's always the player, man. Like the player is going to drive what the coach wants to do here. But then it's also like, well, people in Chicago want to blame Luke Getsy for what happened to Justin.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to like slice the pie up, the quarterback's the most influential position in all of sports. But like, Patriots scored 3 offensive touchdowns during their first Super Bowl run. 3, and Drew Bledsoe was responsible for one of them. So like, it's still a team sport. Their last Super Bowl, they scored 1 touchdown, right? It was a 1-yard rushing touchdown by Sonny Michel. Yeah. So it's still, listen, Brady is the undisputed GOAT. Belichick, to me, is the undisputed GOAT in their respective jobs. It's nice when you have 2 people at the peak of their powers working together. So I think for the Bears, like, to bring this back to the Justin conversation, is that, like, I do generally feel as though 3 years isn't enough of an evaluation, even though only 2 of them have been under the current leadership, right? Like, there's enough that you were able to see in year 1, if you're Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus, even though you weren't actually in the building, to know, like, all right, at some point you have to be able to make a decision and plant your own flag. And, by the way, they don't pay GMs and head coaches to make the easy decisions. They pay them to make the difficult decisions. This is a difficult one. It's a good one to have because you might end up drafting an absolute star with that number 1 overall pick if you go quarterback. But if you move off from Justin, even if imperfect, if the guy you're replacing with busts, then people are going to look at that as a referendum on you. So it's a complicated one. I land, again, to reiterate, on the do your best to get as much of a package for Justin as you can, and then you end up with, I think, Caleb Williams at number 1 overall, or whoever you evaluate as the best prospect there. But it's not without risk. I mean, it obviously has significant reward potential as well, but it is not without risk.
So, Phil, I mean, we've been talking about it. Like, we have 3 years of work with Justin, and we still don't even know exactly where he is as a prospect, how much he can grow. So for teams that maybe are interested in trading, you have to think about the contract. You have to think about what's still the upside. So what is the reason that teams are going to make that gamble on a guy like that? There's still unknowns with him.
So a couple of things. First of all, supply and demand's always going to factor into the quarterback market. So if you're the Raiders at 13, and it seems clear that Jimmy Garoppolo's not part of the picture, right? And beyond that, Aiden O'Connell, I don't think is a guy that you can make a deep playoff, maybe even a playoff push with, right? Like, I think he's sort of below the quarterback Mendoza line. At pick 13, though, are you willing to roll the dice on a rookie quarterback? So there's the supply and demand issue. Like, there's only one Kirk Cousins and only one Baker Mayfield to sign in free agency this offseason. After those 2, like, the list is fairly uninspiring. Moreover, and this is the thing that I think we talk about way too infrequently, but is way too prominent. There are various coaches and GMs around the league that know that if I don't win this year, I'm gone. And so, is it desperate? Perhaps. Is it necessary? Yes, also. So, like, if you're sitting there and you're like, the Raiders are a bad example because they just hired a new head coach and a new general manager, but if you're a team out there where you're coming off of a disappointing season and you're worried that the quarterback could be the spot that prevents you from winning next year, and you see an upgrade, even if the upgrade is relatively nominal, you might say, you know what? I got to keep my job, and I'm going to make this trade because I think I have an improved chance of winning, and that improved chance of winning could be me sticking around for the next 5 years, 2 years, 3 years, whatever, but it's better than the possibility of feeling like you have no lifeline in 2024 and then being a free agent, so to speak, as a coach or a GM at the beginning of 2025.
Well, and therein lies the bad organization. If your guys are in position where they're making decisions to save their job versus the long term.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
If you're the New York Giants right now, there was some speculation, and I don't think it never materialized, and I don't know how close it was or wasn't, but you come off of a great first year with Brian Daboll as your head coach, Joe Shane as your GM. Then you have a big step back. You've got Daniel Jones with an ACL tear and 2 neck injuries on the ledger, and he's got a massive contract guarantee for this year. You're not going to be able to totally rid yourself of that. But if you're uncertain about him, and you feel like there's a chance that if things don't go well this year, what does our future look like? Are you motivated to stand pat and just like do nothing at the quarterback spot and just say we got to find a way to build around that? Or what's your mindset? Isn't that's just one team, and there are others that fit into that category. Don't you have to act more urgently?
I think so. I think there's a lot of teams like that. Not exactly the same thing because I don't think the urgency, from being on the hot seat standpoint is quite the same. But even in the same division of the Bears, the Vikings are interesting to me.
Fascinating. Yeah.
Like, what are they going to do? They just bring Kirk back, or at some point do they got to make a move for a younger guy? And they see Justin up close twice a year. What do they think about it?
Yeah, I would be surprised if Minnesota does not desperately want Kirk back, but it takes two to tango. Kirk is an outstanding businessman. He obviously has done very well in the free agency market in the past, and he is at the career juncture where he may say, something to me, I think we got a peek behind the curtain during that quarterback show on Netflix that Minnesota means a lot to him. It's very much home for him. Yeah. He might say, I can get 2 years, $45 million a year to go somewhere else, or I could do 2 for $40 a year in Minnesota and not upset the apple cart, so to speak, in terms of life. But is there an obvious, easy decision to make? No, there isn't. That's just a way that, again, these are why the GMs are making a lot of money to make these decisions. If you don't have Kirk Cousins, though, rock in a hard place. Right, I mean, they're too far down the draft board to take a first-round quarterback without number 11. You're not getting one of those first 3. So if you're not taking one of those first 3, are you sure that J.J. McCarthy isn't decided upgrade over Kirk Cousins? Or are you saying, hey, we're taking J.J. and we're kind of taking a step back here and acknowledging that we're kind of at this, crossroads is too strong of a characterization, but we're at this different juncture of our organization than you would have thought 2 years ago when we went, whatever it was, 13-4, made the playoffs, won the division.
Let's just say, for argument's sake, the Chiefs win the Super Bowl 24-10.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy the quarterback of the Niners next year?
I think so, but God, it's going to make for some great debate on television, huh?
Right.
Especially depending on the context of the game too, and what happens, especially in the fourth quarter.
The hard part for them, and it's a good problem to have, is that they're obviously so stacked with talent that the resources. You only have. I can't remember who first made this comment. It might have been Mike Mayock when he was a Raiders GM, and he was talking about, I think, preceding the Khalil Mack trade to Chicago, talking about how you can only have one, maybe 2 quarterback contracts on the books, right? The 49ers don't have a starting quarterback contract on the books, but Trent Williams, top of left tackle market. Deebo Samuel, top of the wide receiver market, or close to it. Nick Bosa, top of the DN market, and Fred Warner, top of the linebacker market, right? They've got a lot of guys.
George Kittle,
top of the tight end market, and you've got guys that are coming around the corner who are going to be extension eligible soon. Christian McCaffrey, running back, et cetera, that you kind of have to say to yourself, if things go poorly on Sunday, and if we feel like there is a quarterback upgrade that we can attain, it's not all right, we can just go get Kirk Cousins and everything's hunky-dory. It's all right, we're adding Kirk Cousins, and by the way, in the process of that, we might have to cut 1 or 2 of those guys, or we can't keep a Brandon Ayuk, or whatever it might be. So, there's only so many resources available.
And I can't help my mind wanders sometimes just picturing Justin Fields on the 49ers and what the hell that would look like with just all that help. I don't think that would ever happen, but I'm just sometimes that's just where my mind wanders.
I will say this, and the Justin thing, you got to sort of untangle that web one way or the other. But it's easy when, listen, this is one of the things, when you're not in a specific market covering a single team for most of your time, it's easier to say these kind of things. But the Bears actually are relatively flush with optionality here, right? How many bad contracts are on the books right now? Not too many, right? Maybe 1 or 2, right? That you're not even bad contracts, but contracts that you'd want to manipulate a tiny bit. They have, I don't think, any money that's been kicked down the road. I don't think they have a single.
They're as clean as you can find right now in the NFL.
As clean as you could be from a salary cap perspective, from a draft capital perspective, and from a nice blend of young, non-extension eligible guys. They've hit on some draft picks of late. And most of the guys that are being paid a lot of money, it's DJ Moore's worth $19 million a year. Montez Sweat's worth $24 million a year. So, they just got to get over that hump, which I think is definitely attainable with a good offseason. But relative to some other teams, maybe Minnesota finishes with a better record next year. But Minnesota's complicated right now. Those are complicated things you got to figure out that are a little bit less complicated than Chicago right now.
You do when you're in Mobile, you go barbecue or seafood?
Seafood.
Yeah, me too.
But which is weird because I live on the East Coast, Northeast. I grew up in Massachusetts. Seafood is everything there. But still, like,
It's different
Stick
down
to what
there.
you know, though.
It's different.
Right?
Yeah, it's different kind of seafood.
You can
for
go
sure.
crawfish instead of lobster.
Yeah, they had some catfish around here yesterday that I almost
just right
still
over
there.
Yeah.
I didn't know Las Vegas was a big catfish
I was going to say
place.
catfish in the desert. I don't know about that one.
Not so sure.
Had maybe the worst piece of sushi I've ever had last night at the media party. I never spit out food, but that happened. I just want to look through history. When I was, I don't know if I ever mentioned to you, I used to work in
Kansas
Kansas
City,
City.
baby.
That's right, exactly.
Carm, I think, might have been the first person to have me on your radio show.
When we started the meteoric rise,
he
not
takes
me,
credit for
but
everything.
I'm
He
just
takes
saying,
credit for
I
everything.
saw it happening. Like the first time I was like, that's the smoothest talking dude of all time. He's going to be on ESPN in 5 seconds. And Carrington Harrison and Nick Wright and everybody else was like, let's get Field. I'm like, Field's going to be gone in 5 seconds. This guy's too good. And he was.
Well, I take a lot of pride in it. It's just cool. And I'm certainly 5 out of 5 here. But it was really cool. It's like been fun to see that. I call it the rookie class when I was hired in Kansas City. Ryan Poles. We all got hired relatively within like a month or two of each other. Ryan Poles. Mike Borgonzi, who's still with the Chiefs, the assistant GM. Nick Sirianni, of course, Eagles head coach. Brant Tillis, who is now the new EVP of the Panthers. So him and Dan Morgan are kind of running the show there. So a lot of people that like to see those guys all crushing. It's pretty cool.
That is awesome.
That's
That's
great.
awesome. You have those connections too, man.
Yeah, appreciate you guys.
Phil, always love talking with you.
Right back to you all. I think I've hit like 2 out of maybe 3 of the various All-City Network shows.
Let's go.
Dude, you know what's killing me, though? Freaking Bean and Blackburn, who are my buddies from like 15 years in Boston, won't let me on their show.
Wow.
No chaos. I am all chaos. I want to go there
Wow.
and bring some chaos. I might just crash the show one day.
I was
Do
about
it.
to say,
Do it.
like, you haven't done the hockey show, but you really should be on that show.
You guys have seen the video I've seen a couple nights ago?
That was a big video.
Yeah.
Hilarious. God,
Yeah.
those guys. Don't let them see this clip from me telling them they're really funny and talented and handsome and all those things. So I know. Don't let them hear that.
Thanks, Field.
Good to see you guys.
Yep.
Be well.
Appreciate it,
brother.
All righty.
Field Yates and
Mock Draft 1.0 drops next Wednesday. If you guys want to see
let's
it.
go.
Yeah.
Let's
I got
go.
the Bears
Always
taking a
excited for
kicker.
that.
a kicker.
Not true.
No.
Yeah.
Punter?
Unless there's is there a Justin Tucker out there?
Hey, Tory Taylor, number
Tory
one.
Taylor,
I
Iowa.
would make the argument.
He was dropping bombs in
He's-
Mobile.
Yeah.
So good.
He's just really good.
The gap between him and the next best punter is definitely the biggest gap between any player and the next best player to his position. in the
Field
draft.
knows.
You're right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
100%. That's a good way to think about it. All right.
All right, guys. Be well. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Field.
Field.
All right, there he is, Field Yates from ESPN. Great stuff with him. We're going to keep it rolling with Tom Pelissero now. Tom Pelissero, who I mentioned, kind of bringing this back to the Shane Waldron conversation.
And Field, you better drop Roma Dunze to 9. All right? I'm warning you. I'm warning you. Final warning.
Gets on and just threatening people.
We're now down to threatening our guests.
That's amazing. Well, that's how it works, though, by the way. Don't put him there. We want him. Please. We'll pay.
Hey, this ain't
They would-
just
but Field
this
can never
show
be
just
bought.
isn't a Caleb propaganda machine. We are trying to push Roma Dunze down to 9. He was over there earlier. I'm hawking him to come on the show. Might be a recorded thing, but we are going to do everything we can to get him to 9. He may or may not have said, I won't mind if the Bears trade up either.
He knows. The higher he goes, the more he gets.
Because we want
paid.
him to get his value, but we also want him on the Bears. So
Big shooters around everywhere. We're efforting. I won't even say the names because I guess it's pointless. Because we'll get
we're
them.
getting everybody.
Okay. Because you're threatening them.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to start threatening people.
We got it. Wait, not start. You've been doing it already for like 3 days. All right. Tom Pelissero, we talked to him earlier. You definitely threatened him to come on the show, it sounds like.
Yes, I definitely did.
We actually let you talk to him, too.
Ross Tucker's right there.
Yeah, that was a mistake.
Focus, Carb.
Okay, fine. I'm focused. Pelissero, now. Bears, go. Lawrence.
All right, we found someone who's better dressed than Greg was yesterday. Tom Pelissero with us. Tom, you've had a busy month, the coaching cycle and everything. A lot of news that's been broken. Just what was your takeaway from all the moves the Bears made and didn't make, obviously, because they didn't change head coaches, but the coaching turnover on the offensive side of the ball?
Well, I think that as they got later in the season, they started winning games down the stretch, especially after the trade deadline. The defense played a whole lot better. They were able to, string together some wins. They won games in the division. And so whatever opinions might have existed prior to that second half of the season, I think it got to a point where you see the arrow pointing up on the overall operation. How do we get even better? So they went through an extensive evaluation process over several days. They came to the conclusion the change in offensive coordinator was the direction that they were going to go, which makes sense because Matt Eberflus calls the defense. He's not going to fire himself out of that. And so, you look to the offensive side of the ball. To me, moving on from Getsy, who, listen, had a lot of challenges in Chicago, personnel and otherwise, played a bunch of games with a Division II undrafted quarterback this year and won some of them. It was not an easy task. And Justin Fields, you saw flashes, but you also saw inconsistency. To me, bringing in a Shane Waldron, who comes from that style of offense, it's the McVay-Shanahan tree, I think that suggests, again, not saying anything's foul, but that would suggest to me that they are making way for a quarterback change. Because Caleb Williams ideally would like to play in a certain style of offense that takes some of the pressure off. He's an unbelievable athlete. Depending who you talk to, this is a generational type of talent. It's hard, because even though the Bears have had the number 1 pick 2 years in a row, they traded it last year, you don't want to be drafting there often. If you're going to get that quarterback, it's a really unique opportunity. Again, not saying anything's final, not saying anything is decided, but to me, their moves externally would suggest that they're preparing for Caleb Williams to be there.
So it's interesting the way you phrased it, because that's how I'm looking at it. Like, everyone thinks logically that's what they're going to do. But with your context, are you hearing anything behind the scenes that people are like there's a lean from inside, or is it just more the logic of the NFL people saying, like, you shouldn't do this again as far as passing on a quarterback when you're at that point in the draft?
Well, think about this again. So Justin Fields has been up and down. I think that's fair to say through the course of his career. Missed a little bit of time this year. Durability hasn't been a huge concern. But, obviously his play style is unique. He can do some really dynamic things on the field. But in terms of consistency, especially in the passing game, he has not yet found that through the course of his career. He's now entering the 4th year of his rookie contract. So you're either going to pay him or you're going to move on from him. Not necessarily this year, but over the next couple of years. You're going to have a really big decision to make that completely changes the complexion of your salary cap. So again, to lean back on logic, are you going to pay Justin Fields? Are you going to go and draft Marvin Harrison Jr. and put a bunch of pieces around? You could go that route, trade back, let Washington or New England or maybe somebody else vault all the way to the top of the draft, get a windfall of picks, continue building the overall roster. It's just hard to imagine, based on where they're at right now, that they're sitting there going, well, we're going to pay Justin Fields $50 million a year right now. Do they think that maybe new system could unlock him? Certainly possible. But again, I would lean back on the logic of when you make these types of moves, which seem to point the arrow at the unique opportunity to go and get that new guy.
In that regard, when you talk about the coaching hires, Shane Waldron, Thomas Brown, lateral moves, guys that had head coaching, interviews, and then taking these moves here, I know there's an evaluation process still to take place at the Combine, talking to these guys in person, but they said they want to see what their plan was for both quarterbacks. Do you think at the end of the hiring process they did give them a more direction of what they're going to do at quarterback? Like, to me, it's hard for me to believe that they don't at least have an idea of the direction they're going to go.
You're talking about the coaching staff?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that they've got a pretty good idea of what is going to be asked of them. But I think that also, you're installing systems, you're installing processes as much as anything else here. Yeah, you're going to gear it around the players that you have. But, Shane Waldron over the last couple of years, he went into camp 2 years ago not knowing if it was Geno Smith or Drew Lock as your starter. Two different types of dudes, and the things that they do well are a little bit different here. So, I've known Shane a long time. He trained under Belichick. He trained under Sean McVay. He's a really normal, humble individual. And we've seen him, with Geno Smith, who was a complete cast-off and his career was essentially over, goes there, sits for a while, but then gets his opportunity and played really well at various points in the season. Now give Shane Waldron potentially the number 1 overall pick and see what he can go and do with him. Again, I'm not saying Justin Fields has played his last game as a Bear. We're still here on, February 6th, 7th, somewhere? Sure. Super Bowl week. We got 2.5 months out to the draft. We also know this. Ryan Poles made the move last year to move the number 1 pick very early in the process. He wanted to do that prior to free agency because then he would know what he needed to accomplish in free agency and have some certainty there. I would think he would like to get certain things resolved sooner than later, and maybe around that time you actually get to spend some time with Caleb Williams might be that time.
Tom, it's a time-honored tradition in Chicago to argue about whether it's the OC's fault or the quarterback's fault. So naturally, the fans were not pleased with Luke Getsy this year. I always say how many fan bases actually like their offensive coordinator. Like
if you're winning,
like 3 or 4.
If you're not winning, none.
Yeah. That being said, so it seemed like the view of Luke Getsy, outside Chicago, with the amount of interviews he got, was probably different than maybe how the fans were looking at him after the season in Chicago, at least. What kind of sense did you get for the interest for Luke Getsy and how he's viewed, more nationally within the league? And then, of course, he landed here in Vegas.
Luke's well regarded. He was very close with Aaron Rodgers during their time together in Green Bay. I think that people look within the challenges that he had last year. I mean, I talked to Antonio Pierce yesterday, and he was saying one of the things with Getsy is like they came in and kicked. I'm gonna clean up for you. Kicked the crap out of us in that game, and I'm like, didn't they start Tyson Bagent? He's like, yeah. And they went up and down the field on us. And I went, okay. So you see things like that. And that was, I believe, at the end of the Josh McDaniels era. That was one of the games that kind of tilted things where Antonio Pierce took over here. But you see that, what he's doing with a Division II undrafted guy whose skill set's different than Justin Fields. And you're going, okay, let's play with a different style of quarterback and maybe this is going to fit more. There's always going to be criticism about how much you're adapting your scheme to the players that you have because ultimately it's a players' league. You need to gear things around what the player does best. But you're also thinking, okay, if we're going to have Justin Fields and just run zone read every snap and 15 to 20 times a game because he is a dynamic athlete and he can make things happen in space, he's also going to get hit. He's going to get beat up. That's not a sustainable thing. So what Luke Getsy tried to do was teach him those other things, get him to play under center, get him to play a little bit more for the pocket, not take away those other things. You're trying to develop this other part of his game. That part was a battle. And again, we saw Justin Fields have really good games. The game out in Washington, like you looked at him, he throws that touchdown in the back of the end zone, you're like, okay, like this guy can do it. But then you see the next week, and it's not the same. And that's the up and downs that you're talking about here. It's hard to pay that guy, though I will say this, because I'm not in any way bashing Justin Fields. If he becomes available, there will be a market for Justin Fields. I believe that. There's too many teams that don't have a guy, and there's enough coaches out there that look at other quarterbacks who maybe aren't polished passers but are really dynamic playmakers and have found ways to make it work.
That's interesting. First round pick market?
I was going to say, is there any path where, because I'm with you, like you just see how many teams are desperate for quarterbacks. Is there, right now it seems like everybody's thinking second round pick. Is there any chance teams get desperate and it ends up being somewhere in the first round?
I mean, Carson Wentz, what was that, 2 or 3 years ago in Indy, they had like publicly moved on from him. It was done. And then the Commanders, or whatever they were called at that time, panicked and traded, I want to say it was like 2 3s, or a 3 that could become a 2 and a 3. And that was a guy who was done. He was making $28 million. Justin Fields is still on a rookie contract. You're going to make a decision on the 5th-year option. You trade for him. Do you pick that up? Do you not? That'd be a decision here. I mean, that's part of it is, how do you look at the contract? Do you look at it as he's under contract for 2 more years? Do you look at it as he's under contract really for 1 more year at a low number?
But even if it's a 1-year flyer, it's $6 million for Justin Fields for 1 year.
Well, that's the thing. But if you're thinking it's a 1-year deal and it's a 1-year flyer, you're probably going to be more reluctant to give up, a higher pick. Trades are weird now, man. Like there's really good players who get traded for conditional 7ths because of the money. With Fields, it's not a great deal of money, but the money is fully guaranteed. So are you thinking is he competing to start? Is he a really good backup? Is he potentially the quarterback of the future? Do we pick up that option? So we've got him for 2 years and let's call it 30, 35 million. Those are all the things you'd have to evaluate here. But again, on the plane from Mobile, I went through the entire list of every team. And you can easily come up with 15 to 20 teams where you're like, I don't know what they're doing at quarterback. Like, really, and I don't think they know because there's so many different moving parts.
Did you have any type of injury from wrestling, Tyson Bagent's dad?
I mean, I'll tell you this, my elbow, like from my arm, from my elbow to my hand for about 5 minutes was numb after. I was like, ooh, this can be very bad.
But it torn your
UCL? It came back, yeah. It was like the day after, that week after Brock Purdy had torn his UCL in the game, and I was like, man, this is what it feels like.
Me and Bagent's dad think he's going to the Hall of Fame. I love Bagent, but go you.
Cliff Kingsbury joins the Washington Commanders. Magic Johnson obviously is a guy that takes big swings with his days with the Lakers. How big a swing do you think he's going to try to take to get Caleb Williams?
Well, I think Magic is certainly involved, but it's Josh Harris and it's Adam Peters and it's Dan Quinn, and I mean there's no question. Again, like we're still pretty early in the quarterback evaluation process here. Like I don't think Dan Quinn is the defensive coordinator for the Cowboys. He's probably watched 1 second of Caleb Williams tape, or at least hadn't until the past couple of weeks if he was preparing for job interviews. So they got to go through that entire process. Again, we'll see. Like, there's weird things that happen. I mean, go back to like use this game as an example, the 2017 draft, and there was serious debate between Mitch Trubisky, Patrick Mahomes, and Deshaun Watson. And it was not unanimous from team to team, but a lot of people, the Bears are not alone, it was not just Ryan Pace, a lot of people believed Mitch Trubisky, they had him as the top quarterback just because he was the safest. You've seen him in a pro-style offense. He had the size. He had the big arm. And then you kind of learned over time, unless you were booting him out to the right, Mitch kind of struggled to play at a consistent level. So, again, we can all sit here and go, well, Caleb Williams is clearly the guy. And listen, he probably is, but Drake May, Jaden Daniels, they're going to have fans. Michael Penix is going to have fans. J.J. McCarthy is going to have fans. Let's see where we're really at here. Because even though you could say, well, it's only one spot from 2 to 1, if one becomes available, everyone is going to be called. And so even moving up from 2 to 1, you're talking about significant assets.
Any validity to a lot of the different rumors surrounding Caleb or even his relationship with his dad as far as, trying to force not being in Chicago or equity in teams?
You can try anything. The equity thing is not really allowed. It's we would require probably some lawsuits and things like that. But no, listen, they're in a unique position where they know everybody wants them. We've seen it a couple of times in NFL history. John Elway, that's so long ago, that doesn't really count. But like Eli Manning was the last one where you really saw somebody engineer something to get themselves out. Caleb doesn't have an agent. Normally this would be the agent's job to try to shape the environment and get a guy to a certain place here. Caleb's in a power position, but ultimately if the Bears decide we don't care, he's going to be a Bear, you can draft him and just say you're coming here regardless of how he feels. And I'm not saying he doesn't want to come to Chicago. What I'm saying is even if you find that out or he expresses that, you still can draft him. You just say, okay, you can sit out a year and not get paid and then go back in the draft. Good luck, but we're going to do this. There's a long way to go before we get to that point.
You haven't heard any inclinations that he wouldn't want to come to Chicago from what you heard?
I would just say it's very early in this entire process, and so we're still gathering a lot of information. Caleb's gathering information, the teams are gathering information, and that's just kind of how this process goes.
Tom, thank you very much. I was harassing you the last few days here on Media Row, so I appreciate you spending a lot of time with us.
Good lesson. Harassing works.
Yes. Closed mouths don't eat. We'll tell Ian Rappaport you said that he wants to come on the show.
Really wants to come on.
I think he does.
What we heard.
All right, great stuff with Tom Pelissero. A little bit more context, I think, on Shane Waldron as well. Obviously, Tom has been breaking pretty much every coaching story that's existed the last month, so we thank him for making us all look very poorly dressed.
He's got great hair.
I've never looked into Tom Pelissero's eyes like that, and I don't think I'm ever going to forget looking into Tom Pelissero's eyes like that. It was so, and he was so nice and blue. And I honestly, for
so nice and blue,
his suit, it was his suit.
Yeah, it was a nice suit. I appreciate a good suit. We don't really wear them here at ALLCITY, so I have like 3. I did bring out one of the jackets last night, though.
Last night, yeah.
First time I've ever.
Good sharp.
I didn't bring a coat. I didn't bring a collared shirt, and I'm thinking that I probably made a mistake with that, but that's how it is.
To give you an idea of, this might be a little morbid, but it's a man I love and miss dearly. But to give you an idea, the last time I wore that jacket, I reached into the pocket when I put it on, and the mass card from John Moon Mullen's funeral was in there.
Wow.
Hashtag Moon. Miss you,
I
Moon.
love Moon.
Moon was the best. No, I just, with Tom, logical information, but again, and I asked him that in there, everyone is saying that it looks like the Bears are going to do this, but no one is getting that from the Bears. It's just a logic.
No, the Bears are locked. Also, I keep saying this. I don't think the Bears are 100. They're probably leaning one way, but they haven't talked to Caleb.
Right. So for those of you,
they haven't met with him at the combine. They haven't worked him out. They haven't, had conversations. I'm sure at some point, like a Carl Williams conversation happens too. Like we all want this to conclude, but it's February 7th, man. We got a long ways to go.
There's no benefit of coming to a complete answer right then and now. You want to do your that's what the Bears do. They're going to do their diligence, research it, look into it.
That said, we are about a month away from the point where the trade was made last year. So once we get to the combine a couple weeks from now,
boom.
It's going to come quick, but it's not there yet. And one more thing about Pelissero. That guy's doing 1,000 interviews.
He's right there right now.
He's literally right there right now. He gave, that was 9 o'clock in the morning today when we taped with him. He gave great freaking energy. And I just, didn't, he's on a big-ass platform. Not that we're not a huge platform, too. Thank you very much. But
we're the biggest platform.
We're the biggest platform. But I just
take that, Pat McAfee over there.
Yeah, McAfee. Yeah. What are you doing? You got nothing going on
there. Anything?
100
You probably.
million listeners per show.
Yeah, whatever. All right, it's getting easier for businesses to switch to electric vehicles. That's something we can all get behind for the health of the planet and for the well-being of all of us who share it.
That's right, Mark. The electric grid is evolving to meet your cleaner energy needs as we all move with confidence towards an electric tomorrow. Whether you have one delivery van or a whole fleet of shipping trucks, ComEd can help guide you to make the changes that make sense.
So what should business owners do, Nick?
They can go to ComEd.com/clean to learn more about the resources, fleet rebates, and infrastructure incentives available to help businesses go electric. If you own a business, don't wait. Start making your plan to switch to electric vehicles. Good for business, good for the planet, good for all of us. Go to ComEd.com/clean.
Did you say ComEd.com/clean?
I sure did, Mark. Go now and see how going electric connects us to a better way of doing business and a better future for generations to come.
ComEd.com/clean. Thank you to our friends at ComEd.
One gentleman who has a big future for generations to come. Already a pretty good present, too. Kevin Clark.
Yep.
I love Kevin Clark. Kevin Clark, another friend around here that I like to see at these events. Always has a great perspective on football conversation. So we were going to bring you Brian Billick, which we also recorded. Brian Billick, who owns a Super Bowl.
Should we get Brendan Rice?
Yeah, we should probably talk
Jerry
to Jerry Rice's son, who was at the Senior Bowl last week.
USC.
We can figure that out at some point. But we're going to pivot here a little bit. We'll probably bring Brian to you tomorrow or something like that. Instead, we had a conversation with Kevin Clark this week, and I think we'll bring that to you right now instead. So here's Kevin Clark from Omaha Productions. He works for the Manning brothers. How about that?
That's dope.
Big shooter.
All right, we got Kevin Clark here. He's always the best dressed on Radio Row every single year.
I try.
He hosts a great show called This Is Football for Omaha Productions. What's it like working for the Mannings?
It's amazing because we have the smartest quarterback thinker maybe who's ever existed on staff.
Probably.
And so we can just get him on for 30 minutes at the beginning of the playoffs and hey, who's good at quarterback? And usually he has the right answers. So he's a great boss. He's super communicative. Everybody loves him. Good culture. He's as good as a media mogul as he was as a quarterback. So I'm in.
So every 2 or 3 years, whenever the Bears fire everybody and then start over, there's always Bears fans that are like, "Whoa, just hire Peyton Manning," because for the reasons you just said, he could solve the Bears quarterback problem. It seems simple.
Peyton has a great life, and running the Bears does not necessarily seem like the greatest life possible. And I think Peyton is in the running right now for elite, can play golf whenever he wants, can do the Manning cast, can host whatever he wants to do. Peyton's places, he can, if he wanted to get involved in football, he can call up his buddies, have some influence or whatever. But day to day, doing the Kevin Warren thing, I'm not sure that's replacing what he does now.
Yeah, but so the Bears I'm looking to upgrade here, Kevin. Okay. You always think outside the box. Sure. You got creative ideas. What if we put you in charge? Number one pick, is it as easy as you take Caleb, or do you do something a little more creative? What would you do?
I think the biggest problem is you already fleeced the most desperate team in football, and that was the Carolina Panthers. So what do? You can't call the Panthers again. You can't call David Tepper and say, "Hey, got any more first-round picks?" It's over. You got them all. Is there a desperate team? I think the Commanders getting to 2 hurt the leverage maybe the Bears would have if they wanted to auction off the pick. I just don't know who would go out and say, "Hey, we're going to sell the farm for this team because we want to build around it." I don't know. I would take Caleb Williams and call it a day. I think it's an easy choice. See what you can get for Justin Fields. I think Fields has done a lot to improve his game. I think he didn't get a fair shake. I didn't love the play calling. I felt like, and this is something I've shared, I think, with you guys in the past, I felt like he had a skill set that you should want to coach him. You should want to be able to figure out what he does well and accentuate it. I felt like the infrastructure there didn't really get that until it was too late. I think he's a bounce-back candidate in a huge way. I think that we might see almost like a Tua Tagovailoa thing at some point in his career, but I don't want to wait around for that. I don't want to keep getting the infrastructure right until it clicks. As much as I love him, I would take Caleb Williams and just go from there, start a new era, see what we can get for Fields. But I think it's a pretty easy pick.
Is there a spot right now in the league that you feel like would be a good fit for Justin Fields to bring out those things you were just talking about?
Yeah, I'm just thinking there's a bunch of them. Atlanta obviously is a place where they've got skill guys, which is something that he could do well with. They've got a head coach in Raheem Morris who I really like. Shanahan's system on the offensive side of the ball. That to me feels like natural landing spot for him. Obviously, he's got the Georgia connection. I think that'd be great. But I also think that the thing with Tua, not that they're the same player by any means, but like the one thing that Mike Daniel said about Tua is that he just needed somebody who believed in him. And so it's not about is he from Georgia. It's not about is Kyle Pitts there, is Bijan Robinson there. To me, it's about what offensive head coach is going to say, I believe in this guy, I can build a scheme around him. And I think that's something it's more or less unknowable at this point.
Bill Belichick doesn't have a job in the NFL right now because
owners are scared. I think that's the biggest thing is that, and I was just on DC radio a couple of hours ago, and they were saying they were really worried. They wanted to be the Adam Peters show, who's the GM there in Washington. And I said, well, ask Bill if he's okay with it being the Adam Peters show. And if he is, he's the best coach of all time. He's not the best GM of all time. I think you sit Bill Belichick down and you say, this is the role we have. This is the job. It's not to be the GM. It's not to bring in all your buddies in scouting and Joe Judge and Matt Patricia. It's to coach these 53 guys that are going to be handed and maximize the roster because he still has good game plans. Just that he was so bad at building the team over the past few years that he couldn't win with those guys. And the quarterback position had completely devolved, and part of that was his fault with the way he mishandled Mac Jones, Matt Patricia, Joe Judge, all of these guys. It was a problem. But I'd much rather have Bill Belichick or Mike Vrabel than Dan Quinn. I think that the implication around the league was that even if Belichick says now he doesn't want to be the GM, he doesn't want to, they're worried he might do a power play or something like that. I just think that's owners not being confident enough. You go out and you get Bill Belichick because he's the best coach that we've ever seen. That we know the defensive game plans are going to be good. Even if you say it's Tom Brady, read any of the stuff about Tom Brady's development. So much of it was Bill Belichick closing the door with Tom Brady and teaching him the rules of a specific defense. The offensive coordinator and the quarterback's coach weren't even invited to that thing. That was just Brady and Belichick talking about offensive and defensive football at a graduate level. That can only help a young quarterback. That can only help a quarterback who's not established yet. And so it ended poorly in New England, but I'm baffled as to why Pete Carroll, frankly, I'd call him Nick Saban. Make him say no. But Mike Vrabel and Bill Belichick, the fact they don't have jobs shows, I think, holes in how owners think.
I agree. Is there one hire that stood out to you as the best one?
Mike McDonald in Seattle, even though he's a defensive head coach, and I think that the trend is for offensive head coaches for a bunch of different reasons, I think he gets modern football, and I think he's going to understand. I think the best selling point for a defensive head coach is to an offensive coordinator saying, like Todd Bowles in Tampa this year with Dave Canales, where you say, you get this side of the ball. It's the most glamorous side of the ball in football. It's the most important position in sports. Is coaching is the quarterback. You have control over that. You're going to get all the credit if there's a good offensive season. Okay, that should be a huge selling point. That's why I was disappointed in the Dan Quinn, Cliff Kingsbury thing. You want the next Dave Canales. You want the next Bobby Slowick, who was a candidate this year because of his work with C.J. Stroud. You want those guys, and Mike McDonald is going to be able to create an infrastructure where the roster is going to be good, working with John Schneider, that defense, it's going to be badass. Those schemes and those players are just almost a perfect fit. And then on the offensive side of the ball, he's going to be smart enough to have a conveyor belt of smart OCs to where it always makes sense.
So it's interesting because that's essentially what the Bears have.
Yeah.
And they tried it with Getsy. Here's Justin Fields. Make it work, and then it didn't. Now he's here in Vegas with the Raiders. Now they're going to start it over with Shane Waldron. I'm always curious because we're sometimes too close to this situation, honestly. What's your view? What's the national view of what's going on in Chicago? What's been working with this new coaching staff? What do you think about Matt Eberflus, Ryan Poles, all that? How are the Bears viewed right now?
Yeah, I know how respected Poles was coming from Kansas City. That's not in question. I still believe in his ability to build a team, and you've seen some of the draft pick hits and some of the development and some of the guys who are even coming due for contracts. Everything, with the exception of the Chase Claypool thing, has generally made sense. Eberflus, I think we're still in wait-and-see mode. I saw arguments for bringing him back and not bringing him back. I understand the stability part of it, but I also think that at some point you need to prove that you can maximize the roster, maximize the quarterback, make a push for the playoffs in a real meaningful sense, or that they're going to upgrade. I think with the coaching market this year, If I was Kevin Warren, I would have made a couple of calls and just said, hey, do you want, I mean, you're never going to get a better crop of free agent coaches. I would have at least made a call to a couple of these guys and said, how would you like to be in beautiful Hallis Hall? I don't think he did that. I think that they decided to stay the course on that. The Getsy thing never made, I never saw a game where I was like, Luke Getsy is the guy at OC. I never saw it. I wouldn't have brought him back this year, just because I just don't think it was working with Fields, which again, as I was saying, I just felt like he had a skill set to where there'd be guys who feel more excited to work with him than Luke Getsy was. In my opinion, from a play calling standpoint, it just felt like there were better fits. And so I was a little bleh on that. But this can still work. And the Caleb Williams thing, so many times we say, great quarterbacks are the deodorant of franchises. They just they get everybody hired. In 3 years we could be saying that Caleb Williams got 5 offensive coaches hired. Like Brett Favre with the Packers years ago, where it's like one god tier quarterback changes a franchise. What franchise changing quarterbacks do is they change franchises. We saw with Joe Burrow. I mean, the Bengals. And I remember talking to people in Kansas City about this too, where I was making fun of the Chargers actually one day. As I do. And they'll be good. They're going to be good. They're going to be good. Eventually, once they get the salary.
Well, they did what everyone in Chicago wanted the Bears to do.
And I said, I was making fun of them, and I said, they spend a lot, whatever. And I said, listen, so many of the franchises who we consider top tier either were exactly like that or are exactly like that. And they don't go above and beyond spending money. They don't, they don't pay. Maybe they cut corners on medical or facilities or whatever, but then one player, one coach just changes everything and either don't notice or it drags them, they get embarrassed into becoming that franchise in order to keep that person, to extend that person, whatever. I think a lot of times, like you look at Joe Burrow changed the Bengals so significantly that Zach Taylor looks like a stud coach, even though he certainly didn't look like that for his first, 40 games or something like that. He had some insanely bad record. We never talked about how the spending stuff, it was always a question, the lack of a facility, the lack of, until very recently, even plans for an indoor facility. That never gets brought up anymore. That's all anybody in Cincinnati talked about for years, was how much Mike Brown didn't want to invest in all this stuff. Joe Burrow changed everything. And so all it takes for Caleb Williams to hit, and all of these questions about the Bears go away. Now you get into different questions. I mean, we saw that with Justin Herbert. You hit on a quarterback, and that's, are you doing the right things with them? But that's a separate conversation. Franchise changers change franchises. And if Caleb Williams is what we think he is, a lot of these questions will be answered very clearly in very short order.
If you could draft right now for the future, your top 4 quarterbacks in the game, who are you taking?
Oh, my God. Mahomes number 1.
Right.
I would still pick Burrow too. Healthy Burrow.
Got it. So you're rolling the dice on the healthy if you're going there.
Yeah.
You gonna do it?
Sure.
Okay.
This is no order.
Okay.
But Mahomes definitely number 1. Mahomes part is in order.
Yeah.
Lamar is still. I just love his. I mean, he's the MVP. He's the literal MVP. Jeez, I'm just trying to think of. I don't want to leave anybody out. I'm not going to put Herbert in there. Not going to do it. Not going to put
Josh Allen.
Yeah, I'm not going to put Dak in there. I'll go Josh Allen for. If I'm building a franchise tomorrow, those are the 4.
Okay. I feel like Jordan Love is getting in the top 10 right now. That freaking guy is scaring the shit out of me.
I'm going to say this.
Yeah.
I love Jordan Love. The one, if he's overrated with one group of fans, it's Bears fans. Because they're so scared.
We are. We are. That's
100%.
true.
They spent all of December saying, "Oh no, it's happening again."
They could have been in the championship game.
I wrote that column.
I
for sure.
completely agree. But there's just so much scar tissue where they're just like, no, this can't happen. He's top 10, almost out of anger. I think he's on track to do that, but I still think you're only looking at the second half of the season. Also, by the way, so much of this is Matt freaking LaFleur. I wrote a story about Matt LaFleur 2 years ago. I said he was, he understood that locker room. He's player-led. He's got the schemes. People really impressed at the time with, like, Mike McDaniel and McVay and those guys were really impressed with his ability to win over Aaron Rodgers by taking the Shanahan-McVay scheme and mixing it with the Aaron Rodgers scheme, which is heavily borrowed from Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, people forget it was like friction at the beginning, and then they figured it all
and
out.
they let They let him audible a little bit more, which is not something the Shanahan system allows for a lot of. They let him keep a lot of the McCarthy plays, spread the ball out, spread the formation out, use his cadence, all that stuff. So they changed the offense. So I knew he was a really good coach. And when I wrote that piece, I had a lot of Bears fans and Vikings fans saying, hey man, you know, as soon as Rodgers leaves town, LaFleur is going to be exposed. And no, he's a good coach who developed a quarterback to allow them to. There's a reason they got rid of Rodgers when they did. Like, if they had done it a year early, Love wouldn't have been ready. And, you know, he played that game against Kansas City. It was fine. It was 2 years ago. It was fine. He couldn't handle some of the pressures. They couldn't get him ready in time. But they timed this perfectly. Where they get rid of Rodgers, get a little bit of draft capital for him, and Love was ready to go. But I don't think that's about drafting Jordan Love. It's about developing Jordan Love.
That's super interesting because a lot of people thought that you waited too long. Could have done this a while ago. But you're saying it was perfect timing.
Yeah, I don't think knowing reading the tea leaves and talking to people, I don't know how great it would have been if Jordan Love were thrown into the fire 2 years ago.
So one of his newest dominant ventures is being on Around the Horn, and I think your early record is like ridiculous or something.
I'm the winningest panelist in history, 40%. But I also don't know like whose record I'm like. It's just that's the one thing. It's like it's like EPA per play. Whenever I see it, I'm just like I don't know what's good, what's not. Yeah. They keep records.
There might not be a greater accomplishment than that. Seriously.
I agree.
I mean that's right there.
So in Chicago, we're big fans of Courtney Cronin. And she's tough. She seems like she's a tough cookie.
Now let me tell you something that I couldn't do. Okay, so Courtney Cronin last year wins Rookie of the Year and Panelist of the Year. This is 2022 in the same year. She was Ichiro. She Ichiro'd it. Rookie of the Year and Panelist of the Year in the same year. Never happened before. This year, I won Rookie of the Year. Did not win Panelist of the Year. I finished second.
Cronin.
I finished second.
That hurts.
So you think about it and you just say, if I'm chasing greatness, I didn't quite get there in year one.
You're Burrow, she's Mahomes. I mean, do we have to say that?
I mean,
we might have to say that.
We can say that, but I just want to look at the camera. There's a lot of money in being Joe Burrow. I'm still broke.
This is football. Check it out. Kevin Clark's the best. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks to Kevin
Clark.
What an
interview. What an interview.
That was great. Yeah. We have never looked better as we end day 3 here on Radio Row. What? Some nice. Oh, look at these hats.
Yeah.
Hey,
very nice.
Nogginboss.com.
Look at these.
What's bigger, that hat or your head?
we finally found a hat that appropriately fits his head.
What about Carm's head?
I have a great tiny head, so this looks crazy.
I mean, I've never looked better. I love this hat, and thank you.
The only hats that can fit Carmen Braggs' head.
Look at this. They're versatile. They fit over our headsets. This is amazing.
I see these on TV all the time. I see people wearing them and I've been waiting for this moment my entire life.
Yeah.
Like, I've been wanting one of these hats. And they're hooking us up with one,
Yeah,
too.
I think we get to bring one back to our studio.
We get to take one home. So
we'll put it in the CHGO studio.
This is our new rally cap.
Okay.
Our new we'll pick a color, and that'll be our rally cap when we need the Bears to get
How
a
about in the
touchdown.
comments right now? Let us know which color we should keep. Nogginboss.com. They have 25% off all their products right now with the Super Bowl sale. So go check them out. Nogginboss.com.
How about it? Noggin Boss. One super chat.
Well, we have one super chat, which we're not going to be able to see, but I know it's a question about somebody wants to interview one of us for a school project, and Nick said he would do it.
I got it. Darnell Dixon, $9.99 super chat. Can I get a short interview about working in the sports industry from one of you for an assignment for my intro to sports management class? Darnell, if you message me or Nick or Carm on Instagram, if you message Hogue, he'll ignore you. But the three of us, we will respond. Hollywood, you got to pay the price. You got to pay the toll. But if you DM me, maybe I'll just give you Adam's number.
For the record, I don't charge students to be able to interview me. Just to clarify.
And for the
don't ask me. I didn't go to school.
Yeah. For the record, if you had real advice, don't go to Greg because nobody will do it the way he's done it. But
all right, we got to go. We got to get out of here. Thank you to, let's see if I can remember the whole show, Jaxon Smith-Njigba for the greatest moment of the week.
Chris Olave.
Chris Olave. We talked to Kevin Clark. We talked to Tom Pelissero. We talked to Field Yates. And we got a lot more coming your way tomorrow.
Noggin Boss. Let's go.
Factor,
who's
thank
coming
you so
up?
much for Factor and being here and
Factor meal
making
kits,
us
prize
happy.
picks.
Factor Meal Kits, head to factormeals.com/CHGO Bears 50. We got Circa tonight. If you're in Vegas, go find the link on my Twitter. It's also on CHGO Bears Twitter. You got the link to RSVP. Again, it's a free event. You get 2 free drinks if you RSVP and show up tonight at Circa. We're going to be there from 6 to 8. It's going to be a lot of fun. Cole Kmet, our guy, is here tomorrow joining us on Radio Row, so we will talk to him. And we got a lot more planned too. Our entire show tomorrow is basically booked already, so we're ready to go.
A lot of action.
We're going to take our QB, baby.
We're going to take our big heads out of here, and we will talk to you tomorrow at noon. See you then.
That's what she said.
We all silly like the mayor.